So here's a cool video of me going down to see my buddy's place that's totally off the grid. There's no electricity or water down there, and he's made an awesome place. So this could be a really cool place for me to go in the future, and maybe it could inspire some of you guys. So stick around and I'll tell you about it. So I just made a video actually about my buddy Eric. 3 years ago we did the Blue Ridge Parkway together, and he actually got some property down there right off the parkway. And so we've always kind of been into like outdoors in the mountains anyway. We both hiked the Appalachian Trail. The first time we just did the state of Maine in like 1997, and then a few years later we both hiked the entire Appalachian Trail. Not at the same time, a year apart. I was in the Army at the time, and then when I got out I finished. He did it the year before me. And so for a bunch of years, he's been considering, getting some property near the trail or something like that. And he first looked in North Carolina, but there was a lot of property that was already bought, and like you could buy it from them, but they had like a lot of rules. So he didn't want to get this property. And he did find a couple places near the trail, but it was like too close to where other people like had hostels and stuff. So he kind of gave up on that idea. And then he ended up finding this place near Floyd in Woolwine, Virginia, which is right next to the Blue Ridge Parkway, and not too far from the Appalachian Trail, maybe like 45 minutes or something like that. And also really pretty. I mean, it's basically like the same kind of mountains and everything. So I first went down from Buffalo to Cleveland, where his house is at, and I took the Greyhound, which I really need to get a car. I don't know why it has to smell like beer, farts, and BO, but that seems to always be the case. And yeah, you definitely get some obnoxious situations on there. Sometimes it's okay, but like this time I got off in Akron, and I had to like transfer to the other bus, and as soon as I got on, it was full, but the first front seats were open. But I guess the guy didn't want anyone to sit there because of either COVID or only people with disabilities could sit in those first like 3 rows. And so they're like, you can't sit there. Everyone's yelling. The bus driver was still off. And so I kind of walk into the back. There's like no seats anyway. And I'm like, can I sit there? There's like people like taking up 2 seats, or another lady's like, no, they kind of give me attitude and stuff. So yeah, it was kind of funny. And then I sat up front, and the bus driver got down on, and he's like, well, there's no seats. So yeah, that's fine. So these people are yelling for nothing. Anyway, so yeah, I get to Cleveland, which is a pretty cool spot. Cleveland and Buffalo got a lot of new money downtown because they're old industrial cities. So like they took a lot of these old like warehouses and factories and stuff and made them into like pretty cool bars or restaurants. And they also have like some pretty nice beaches down there. So I've checked out some places, not just Cleveland, but also around Buffalo. Like there's actually quite a lot of nice places around like Lake Erie. So most people never think to like go to these places, but they're actually pretty decent, not touristy. We checked out not just the downtown area of Cleveland, but we went up to his friend's place in Marblehead, which is kind of a peninsula, and then near there's a couple islands, and there's a lot of cool, like, most of them are like either nice houses or like trailer parks where like people go out and boating and stuff, and it's super nice. And Cleveland itself isn't too bad. I mean, they're like my buddies plays in a band there. They do bluegrass and stuff, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, we spent a few days there, and then we headed down towards Virginia, which is like a 7-hour drive. And I guess he got it about 4 or 5 years ago. So when he first got it, there was just kind of like a crappy road that went into like a clearing, which was like an old logging area. There was no property there or anything like that. So he had to like pay to have like a proper like roads in and some drainage. And then he ended up setting up some solar panels, like a house to like protect his batteries and all the electronics, and then another building which has like a shower and a sink. So there he's got like a propane with the stove, and then he's got one of those like heating water tanks that you like heat up as it comes through. That's kind of what I used when I lived in like China and Taiwan or Nepal. Like the water comes through and the gas turns on, it heats it up immediately, and then you can get a hot shower that way. Then he gets the water from upstream. You could cover the area, protect it like from animals coming in and stuff like that, and you put the water underground up to that building. And then he just had like a white tent at that time, which you know, he used until he ended up building this like cabin, a small house. And he did a great job. You know, you come in and you've got kind of like the small living room, and then behind that is his bedroom. And then above the living room, you've got like a loft. So he doesn't have air con, so it's a little hot, you know, like we used a fan, it was okay for now, but super cool. He put it up kind of on stilts, so you've got like a nice view in the back. And you've got reception there too. When he first was there 3 years ago, he had that high tower because the reception was so bad, but Verizon just put in a cell tower like a year ago. And that's great if you have Verizon service, because you could get a hotspot and you could watch videos, and it's great. But like I have Mint service now, and I don't have coverage there, so I couldn't really go on the internet easily or anything like that unless I was like just off his property near town. And then he just has a regular latrine that's outdoors for going to the bathroom, which is all just in the open, which actually is pretty good because, you know, when you're, it seems like, you know, you obviously would want privacy, so you'd want the room, but you know how it is when you go in a fucking outhouse, it smells like shit. So if it's actually in the open, like it doesn't smell at all. And you could just put like, I think later on you could just put like a, you know, like a cloth, like a big sheet or something to cover from like anywhere people could see. But, and you know, he can get running water there and electricity and all that stuff. But then once you do that, you also of course need a septic tank, and you'll have to, you know, pay regular taxes, like a regular address and stuff like that. And really right now what he's got is fine. I mean, those solar panels are enough to run like, you know, a couple refrigerators, all the fans, the lights, like a toaster, probably a microwave too, a washing machine and everything like that. So there's not too much of an incentive for him really to change that up. But with that being said, like if he wants to like do a campground or have a few cabins and stuff like that, it would probably be better for, you know, I know some people obviously would rather have running water like in a bathroom and stuff like that, for instance. But for now, it's awesome. So he also has a nice yard there because, you know, grass actually does take some time to come in, because when I was there 3 years ago, a lot of it was just mud. And, you know, he had to put in all the seeds and stuff. And it took quite a while to get actual proper grass there. So it looks much better now, and it's not so muddy. And then behind his place, there was some old logging roads, but then his neighbor came in with like, you know, a big machine to like knock down some paths so those could connect to his property. And then we found some old like logging roads or things that like the Forest Service made. So you could go up behind his place onto the ridge, and then we kind of blue blazed like up into other trails, and you could go way out there, several miles. I mean, we did a 7-hour hike basically, went all the way up along the ridge, and then we kind of cut through on our old trail all the way down to an area which actually, if you kept going up, that would go to the Blue Ridge Parkway again. And we walked around back to his place, which was really cool. And actually it was kind of, I don't know, funny or sad, like we're kind of walking up and we see a guy slowly walking across the road, real slow, and he like fell down, and then on his way back, like he fell down into the ditch. And I was like, man, is this guy like super drunk? But I guess he was just really old and like was either like spaced out or maybe he was mentally disabled. I'm not sure, so it was kind of sad, but it's like super dangerous for like an old dude to be like walking around those roads. I mean, the people down those roads are going like, you know, as fast as possible, and he's like just kind of walking in the road and falling in the street. It was like a little sketchy. But anyway, yeah, we had a few great days there. We ate super good. I mean, we cooked some awesome food and had some nice barbecues, and, you know, listened to some music and played music and hung out. And then we checked out some areas. Besides hiking around his place, there's quite a few nice swimming holes you could go to. We went down to Mayo River State Park or something like that, and they had like a little waterfall, which was, I think sometimes if they get a lot of rain, it's a little cleaner, but it looked kind of dirty. So we went around to a bigger river, and they had some nice swimming there. And there's actually quite a few little waterfalls and things out that way, and some nice swimming holes that look pretty cool, especially one or two spots right at the border of like kind of like Kentucky and Tennessee. Looked pretty cool, but that was still probably about an hour and a half away. But anyway, that area is super cool. He owns 77 acres, and then between that and the old roads, like the main road was busy, as I mentioned, but like for four-wheeling, dirt biking, snowmobiling, and stuff like that, I mean, you could go for hours or days and just find some awesome stuff out there. So I totally recommend, if you're down that way and like hiking and being off the grid in that kind of way, it could be a good way to explore. And probably there's some cheap property down there, so if you're interested in living off the grid, Virginia's not too bad. I mean, you can get places like that out west, but it's probably going to be a lot more expensive. So it's not as epic or as high of a mountain as something like Colorado, but it's still really pretty and a lot cheaper too. We also checked out another pretty cool lake that's called Philpott Lake, which isn't too far away from there. And that's got some good like boating and fishing you could do. So there's a good amount there. There's not really a big city though. I mean, Roanoke is the biggest city and that's like almost an hour away. So it's really just Floyd is the closest thing, which they have like some bluegrass festivals and like they have like a Floyd general store, which has like, you know, some older people playing like either bluegrass or very traditional like mountain style music, like country stuff, which is nice. But if you're not really into that, it's not something you can do all the time. But there's a few restaurants in that town, and then down south in like Stewart and a few other like towns, they've got, you know, some different like grocery stores and restaurants and things. But there's nothing like within like 10 miles of his place. So that's good if you really like being off the grid, but it's definitely not like walking distance to too much close. So you definitely need a car to get around. At least there's not too much snow. You know, it only snows probably a couple times a year and, you know, it can be a little tough in winter, but for most of the year, it's pretty good. And he's got some, you know, he's got a huge stove anyway, which he said he's heated that up over 100 degrees. So if you got a good stove, you can heat up a place pretty easily anyway. So anyway, hopefully I'll head down there again. I'm thinking of doing like, you know, a few stints where I hang out there for like 2, 3, 4 weeks. You know, I want to train up on some of this IT stuff and digital marketing, so I might hang out there for a few weeks and just study and whatnot. Or who knows, I might stay there long term, you know, so if you don't see me on YouTube for a long time, that might be where I'm at. So yeah, it'll be cool to see how this might evolve, because we're talking about, you know, I'd like to make a cabin up there or something and maybe do a campground. So this could be a work in progress of something cool in the next, you know, like 5 to 10 years of, I mean, maybe we just keep it private for like friends to come up and hang out, but we might even do something commercial where we, you know, we rent out some places and stuff like that. Because it would be great if people are like doing bike trips or just driving down the Blue Ridge Parkway. It could be a stop off or a campground there, or passing through to see like that Floyd festival for bluegrass. So it could be a really fun stuff for the public or for just my friends or whatever. So looking forward to that. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and subscribe. I should have some more interesting videos, not just down in Virginia, but I'll head out to Colorado soon and do some other travels in the States. And hopefully next year, some more stuff out of the States. So anyway, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.